Hey everybody, this is Renae from The Space Between, and you are listening to The Space Between podcast, the show that lets you listen to how the fans feel about the music, the art behind over 30 years of the Dave Matthews Band. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Each week I bring another fan on the show to tell us their journey with the Dave Matthews Band. Today I have Lisa Cooper with me. Lisa, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show and being willing to tell your story.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely. So tell us, where are you and how in the world did you find this band, the Dave Matthews Band?
So I am in Michigan, and in Michigan we do this. So this is Michigan, and I'm over here on Lake Michigan, kind of in the Northwoods. And I think the first time I ever heard Dave Matthews Band must have been around 1994. And a classmate in my French class, and she always wore her DMB t-shirt, one of those OG t-shirts, and she made me a tape. And, that was it. That was
wow. So you are one of the OGs, basically. I mean, when we talk about the history of the Dave Matthews Band and like its conception and like the fanhood, tape trading is one of those things that comes up, right? And so you are literally one of the receiving ends of that tape that changed your life, right? Like that's what I hear you saying, right? That was the start of the rabbit hole, I guess, that is the Dave Matthews Band, right?
Yeah, and it introduced me to kind of that genre. I was in high school, so it was really me kind of coming into my musical taste, which vary, but that was it. So wow. I have some really vivid memories from that time in my life, listening and where I was and what I was doing, and that music takes me right back.
Gosh, I know. I always say, and I've said this a million times, but I can't think of a better way to describe it, is that the Dave Matthews Band is the soundtrack of my life, because there's not really a time where I remember them not being there, right? Like my memories always have them in the background. They may have not been in the very forefront of what it was ever going on, but they've always been out there. And so it sounds like the same thing with you, right? Like it kind of started young, and it obviously it hasn't stopped, right? Like you're still in it to win it with the band, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So when was your first show? Like, I know obviously not every fan has to go to a show to be a fan, but you have been to some shows. So tell us about like when that started.
Yeah. And I'm not a counter. So I don't know how many.
No, you don't have to tell us that.
So I think our first show was 2005 or 2006, and it was Alpine Valley.
Oh my God, what a great starter, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my husband and I, who we'd been married 2 years by then, we went on a trip across Lake Michigan. It's an adventure to go to Alpine Valley for us, and that was it. I mean, and that's actually probably when he became a fan also. It took that live experience, which takes it to a whole new level, and he was forced to listen anyway, because maybe I was in control of a lot of CDs that we were popping in. But yeah, I think we've talked about it. Like, it's about 2005, 2006.
Yeah. And I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, I want to say I think it was 2005. Maybe I'm dead wrong, and we'll edit this out if I am, but like, I think that was an album release year, right? Was somewhere right in there. Somewhere right in there. Yeah. I think there was some big things happening at that time. So there's not a bad time to find them, but like that was a good time because they were definitely in a transition phase, but you also got the tail end of Leroy, right? Like you were able to kind of enjoy that before it was no longer. So it was a great time to find them or to hear them live. Right.
And we were hearing stuff off of Stand Up, but, and going to hear them live meant, I heard some covers I'd never heard them do. A couple songs that weren't go-to songs until I heard them live, and then they became favorites.
Yeah.
It was over. It was over at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. So what did you think about Alpine?
Oh, I love it. It's our little mini gorge out here in the
Yeah.
Midwest. And when it's not an alpine year, I'm just looking for things to do.
Exactly. I mean, I have just been to Alpine once and it was last year and we've already made our reservations, if you will, to go back because we are hoping and praying and like betting that it's going to happen next year, right? Like somewhere around 4th of July, like we put all our money in. We're like, yep, 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 yep. We're ready. Alpine was such a special thing. And it's funny because when you tell people, especially like if you're not from the area, like I'm going to Wisconsin in the middle of summer for vacation, they're like, what the hell are you doing? Right. But like, it's so worth it because you get there. And not only, of course, is the music different. I believe that's a venue where the music is different, but also the fans are exceptional, right? Like there's such a vibe there. And I know it's everywhere, but like it's different there. I love Alpine. So tell me how your voyage goes on from there. And like, we're going to lead up to how in the world this is all about the DMB Fit Crew. So pick us up. Like, how did it progress?
I think I'm just a listener to music anyway. So there is always a soundtrack playing, and I'm very particular about what it is, what the weather's doing, what season it is, what mood I'm in. So I have these rules about music. And so I cycle through the summer stuff. I cycle through the fall stuff and the winter stuff. And that fell into our family culture then. My kids were born in 01, 04, and 07. So they were raised on Dave. And it wasn't always Dave. They were raised on a lot of amazing music.
Yeah.
But that voice, that voice and that message and that heartbeat in DMB became part of our family culture. So there are times when I don't want to listen to it because I
Of
don't want to
course.
associate it with whatever I'm going through.
Yes.
But I think it is something that then has become a constant and something I can count on to be there when I need it. And so that's kind of how it led me to the Fit Crew.
Yeah. So where were you in your life and like what made you think like, okay, I'm gonna because it's kind of a wild thought to be like, oh, I'm gonna jump online and create this group that want to work out to Dave Matthews Band. So like what were the initial actions that made you even kind of think of that idea?
So let's see, this was just post-pandemic. And so I'd left a stressful career prior to the pandemic and then had some time to reset. And then in 2021, in the spring, I was like, you know what? I'm coming up on mid 40s. Now is the time for me to become serious about my health, my cardiovascular health, nutrition, and make the most of what I've got here with this body I'm walking around in, because I'd like it to last, because I would like to be able to do the things I love to do and be comfortable and not be injured, and I was having a hard time skiing and being out and active because I had become pretty unhealthy. So I was just making a plan. How am I going to do this? And how am I going to succeed? Because, this is it. This has to be it now. So I'm picking my apps. I'm finding some shoes and then what's going to go in my ears when I'm doing it. I picked a Couch to 5K app, which kind of trains you to increase from walking to running until you can run a 5K. And that's something I would always recommend because it's a very easy pace to work yourself up. And, I don't think DMB is most people's go-to workout music.
Right.
But I knew that I needed to really enjoy it. I needed to trick my brain and really train myself to look forward to it. So there were times when I listened to podcasts, there were times when I listened to audiobooks, but when I really wanted to just be in my own space, it was DMB. And that was the year that I also decided that, we didn't have a tour in 2020. We didn't know what was going to happen to the whole dang world.
That's
So
right.
the boys are back and we're doing the gorge. We are doing it. So this was May 1st of 2021. And by September 1st, when it was Labor Day weekend, that was my goal that I set. So it was a combination of knowing I could count on DMB to help me learn to enjoy that time I was spending out there walking and running, and having a goal to show up at the gorge feeling as good as I could.
Yeah. Because the gorge it's a very physical location, right? Like I just went there for my first time this year, but I think that it would be a hurdle if if you weren't able to get around easily. It would be a huge hurdle of a venue, I believe. So I can totally see why you started thinking about that and why that was the goal, is because, and I think a lot of people share in that goal of, I got to get ready for the gorge because it's a big one. So
it sort of symbolized like, these are the types of things I want to be able to just go do.
Yeah.
And I can't control all of my health or all of my abilities.
Yeah.
This is the time in my life where I can put forth as much effort as possible into being able to go and do. So it was all about the gorge. It was all about finding that motivation, but also tapping into kind of core values around being the best I can, or doing the best with the time I have, you know. So making the best of what's around.
That's right. That's right. So what did that look like for you? What were your first steps? Like, what did you do?
I knew I had to make it easy enough to stick with until I started to see results, because I know how this goes. So I found a time during my day that I was wasting time, and I just stood up on my feet and walked instead of sitting. I used that Couch to 5K app. And I did it. I stuck with it. I got over some of those humps as I was training my brain, and just learning how to stick with it.
Yeah, that's the hardest part in the beginning, right? Is just like convincing yourself every day to do it.
It's all about forming habits, so that you can go through the motions without talking yourself into it every time.
Yeah.
And then I was successful. My goal was to lose 30 pounds. For me, being overweight was causing me a lot of health issues. And so that became my sort of data point, my benchmark.
Yeah.
I wanted to lose 30 by the gorge. I lost 35 and I felt amazing. We went on hikes out there. It worked. Okay. That motivation worked. So then I was able to maintain over winter, start doing some new things I hadn't done before. I lost more, so that by March I'd lost 50 pounds.
Wow.
And that's when I'm like, you know what? The DMB was a big part of this. I wonder if there's any other fans who would like to join me. I want to do it again. I want to keep going and use the Gorge 2022 to motivate me more. I wonder if anybody else would be into that.
So what did you do? How do you reach out to people to see? Obviously, we know like Facebook, Instagram, loaded with fans. So what was your first reach out?
Figuring out the gorge is no small feat in and of itself. So I had joined the Gorge Crew community Facebook group and received a lot of support there for knowing how to gorge, and then was able to share some of the nuggets that we learned while we were there. So that's why I posted. Yeah. I just said, this worked for me this time. And it's not rocket science. It's great music and a little bit of self-love.
Yeah.
And so would anybody else be interested in joining me? Maybe we could start a group. And that thread blew up. So later that day, I started a group, and later that night, we had a couple hundred
Oh my
members.
God. Oh my God. So people really were looking for that. And so you kind of, threw it out, I know so many people were thankful to join your journey with you because they were just needing somebody, right, to do it with them, kind of hold your hand, if you will, and like, let's do this together, because it's always better if you have somebody that does it with you.
Well, and I had some before and after pictures. So that I think in and of itself is pretty motivating to see that somebody else, like some 40-something-year-old mom in the Midwest, she can do that. I can do that.
Yes.
And this group is maybe not like other fitness groups and maybe not like other DMB groups.
So why do you say that? Or are you going to leave? If that was premature, that's cool. But like, why do you say that? Why is it different?
I think there is no place for people to be crappy. And I think there should be high expectations for behavior because, we just have to love each other. And so this gave us the opportunity to give and receive support in a way that is real, just authentic and honest. And none of us here, I am not a fitness expert. I'm not in here like with all the answers.
Right.
I'm here to show some kindness and be a friend and be in it together.
Yeah.
We fail sometimes. Folks come and it doesn't quite work, and we're still there for that. So
yeah.
So right off the bat, I held pretty high expectations for how this little world was going to work, and it's been wonderful.
Oh my goodness. So tell me, other than like no crabbiness, if you will, what are some other things that you really want your group and kind of expect your group to grab a hold of? Is it positivity? Is it helping others? Like what are some of the values that your group shares?
I think it's definitely to realize the value and the worth that we each have, to kind of come at this feeling like this is our space to take care of ourselves. We're all busy serving others, and this is a very self-focused thing that we're doing as far as paying attention to our own fitness. And that's maybe often why we don't get to it, right?
True.
But that doesn't mean that it's a selfish thing, because as soon as we do that, as soon as we need some support, so then we have it, right? We've got this kind of loving energy that's been shared with us, and we can hold on to it and absorb it for ourselves, or turn it around and share it. I think that sort of just it kind of is the way we behave in there. It's a give and a take. And we can be crabby. Of course.
Everybody doesn't have perfect days, right? Like there's a lot of non-perfect days, but there's a way to do it gracefully, right? Like, hey guys, I'm struggling, right? Like I'm struggling. And those are some great words, to use to let people know, hey, I need some love right now.
And oftentimes what we'll do is we'll share, like, this was not a good one, but I did it anyway.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, when I'm out there doing whatever I'm doing, it's like the Fit Crew is in my head the whole time, and there's no way I'm going to let them down. So,
wow. So accountability, right? Like that's kind of a little bit of accountability, is knowing if I don't do this, like you it does. It's that accountability. And I feel like that really helps, especially when you're talking about creating new habits, especially exercise, right? Because I think for the most part, people really do need it. It's like a team thing, or like at least two people. It makes it easier to share in the struggle, right? Like, because it's not easy for anyone. It really isn't. I think that that's a misconception when it comes to exercise. And I think to, add to what you said a little bit ago, I think that making time for yourself, especially when it comes to making sure that we become healthier, and keep investing in ourselves, is really important as a piece of mental health, right? Because like we cannot give 100% of ourselves. We can't give 80% of ourselves if we're not feeding ourselves too. Like our body is just like a car. We need oil changes. We need gas. Like we need all of those things. And if we don't do that, then we're going to fall apart. Right. So, and I can't think of a better time than, I'm mid 40s, and I feel like, like this is the time where your body starts going, I'm going to downshift a little bit. Like, I don't know if I can do that. So this is a great time to be talking about your crew. And so tell us, like, how much have you guys grown, and what has that growth allowed you as a group to be able to do?
Yeah, I mean, so, right away I could tell that this was something that was creating some meaning for people. And we started focusing on physical health, but we quickly kind of expanded that concept to spiritual health and mental health. We talk about encouraging healthy mind, spirit, body, community, and planet.
Yes.
So it's about wellness, right? And
Yes.
it's not at all just about weight loss. It's not a weight loss group. It's about wellness, and that means different things to different people.
Absolutely.
So as it grew, right off the bat in the spring of 21, I didn't want to miss the opportunity to do as much good as possible. So as we started setting up some of our very first group challenges, we attached a fee to those challenges and made them fundraisers. And that really tapped into, I think what we love the most about the music, because it encouraged us to to make more with what we've got, right? To take something we're doing for ourselves, to come together as a community, and to just kind of pay forward that great energy that we're creating. And the band does it all the time.
Yeah.
It's just the same concept as any charity run that you might sign up for, your Thanksgiving turkey trot that, is a fundraising run. So that first summer we raised some good money for charity. We looked for charities that were meaningful to us. We oftentimes will run a fitness challenge for charity with sort of like a in honor of somebody. So we'll be running that 5K for this person, and they've chosen a charity that the funds to.
Yeah.
And so we've met amazing people, and so the first summer was just so fun and so wonderful. And we run a 5K at the Gorge. We hold these events at the Gorge, and then we cannot wait to get started again the next year.
Wow. So that says a lot about your group. I mean, not only are people going through, this year, but they're excited about next year, right? Like time to start over again, or time to start something different. Okay. So as we head into the future, what does that look like with your growth? And do you guys have new goals for 2024? Are you going to try some things that maybe you haven't tried in previous years? Again, this is just such a baby of a group. So there's unlimited possibilities. And of course, there'll be more growth to come with each year, because I think as people find out about you guys, they're just going to kind of flock to you. So what would be some words of advice that you would give people if they're looking for something to kind of invest in themselves in 2024, and everything you have said sounds really good so far? What would be some examples of like people that have come to you other than your story? What would be some examples of people that have come and had some really good success stories, or people that really kind of came in maybe nervous about it all? This was nothing that they had ever done. Working out was new to them. Can you give some examples of like stories that people maybe could like get behind and be like, okay, I'm not the only one that's never exercised, so this group might work for me?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we're at about 5,500 right now, and we kind of, you know, you would think this time of year is a quiet time of year, but we do shift into low gear. It gives us an opportunity to plan for next year, the next tour.
Yeah.
So we just wrapped up a huge project with our set list auction with the fall tour, and that was a lot of work. So we're just kind of taking a breather as we think about next year. And I've already, so we use a sign up platform, you know, for all of our events. Already created the 2024 kind of event that houses all of our challenges. And that was kind of a big moment. I was like, oh my gosh, we started with 22 or whatever, and here we go. We just keep on going.
Yes.
So we already have events happening in January that are up and available for registration. And so we have, oh my gosh, the stories that we hear, the successes, and you know, I'm thinking of one gentleman, one young man who has struggled with some issues with his hands and feet and numbness. He's a guitar player, and he was struggling with that. He was having a hard time. He couldn't run anymore. He was trying to walk to stay fit and really struggling. And we have had several events in partnership with Lyoko Suzuki, who you may know is Jeff Coffin's wife. Actually, Jeff Coffin is her husband. Let's put it that way.
That's right. She has her own like starship, right? Like she's got an enterprise behind her, and she knows. Like I've never heard anyone speak negatively about her. Like when I hear someone speak of her, it's like she's a master of like her own trade, right? Like she's so kind, she's so gentle, and the information that she gives you is just so valid, right? So like how did you get wrapped up in finding her and getting advice and all of that from her?
Oh, it was really early on. We started partnering. It was, I don't know. It was in 2022, and we did some events together. We did a fundraiser together. Oh, we did a wellness series around the holidays last December to partner and raise some money for the W.O. Smith School of Music in Nashville, where she lives. And the group who came together and registered for that, we just, any class that we take with her is such valuable time.
Yeah.
And her practice is so gentle and restorative. It's great for some of us who are a little bit hardcore and need to take good care of our spine.
Yeah.
And so this gentleman, he signed up. He was anti-yoga. Let me just say that. He was anti-yoga, and you know, I'm like, really, you should try it, because it's not what you think. It's very subtle, it's very gentle, and you will not feel like you're doing anything, you know, awkward. Yeah. And he experienced so much benefit from that class. He's playing guitar. He's not running, but he's out there, and he was able to sort of reclaim so much function in his hands and feet that that you know, just facilitating he would have, you know, we don't to be out there and try it and try something new, try to be something new.
Yeah.
And so that's a great success story. I just love to think about how kind of serendipitous it can be to just follow your passion a little bit and meet some people and try something.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure as the group has grown, people have come alongside maybe, you know, masters of their trade, whether, you know, it was some form of physical therapy or maybe even yoga instructors. And so has that happened where people were part of your group or found out and was like, hey, how can we help? Right. Because obviously Susie came along, but like, have there been others that were like, what can we do to help make this, you know, expand?
Absolutely. So when we go out to the gorge, we do have a live yoga class. It's sunrise yoga on Friday morning at sunrise.
Oh my goodness.
over at Cave B. We partner with Cave B. And so we have yoga on the piazza at Cave B, overlooking the gorge and Sage Cliff Resort as the sun rises behind us. This year it did rain on us, so we got to be kissed by raindrops instead of seeing the sun. But, so then we partner with members of the group who are yoga instructors, and we have a little selection process, and we've had some amazing classes out there. And we do have dietitians and nutrition experts in the group, and they'll chime in. We really keep the group focused on sort of activities that benefit everyone, and anything that we're doing, it's a fundraiser. So we drive in that direction. But we have had several members kind of step forward and offer their expertise.
That's amazing. So if someone is thinking, hey, I really want to know more, where can they find you guys? Is it a page? Is it a group? Like, where exactly on Facebook can you be found? And are you on other social platforms?
So we've started with the Facebook group, which, only works for a certain pocket of our demographic. We do have members who aren't on Facebook, and they make donations and they attend, they keep in touch via email or other ways. We have a website, dmbfitcrew.com, and we've had several people kind of sign up for updates through the website, and they keep updated. They'll come through the website and sign up for our challenges. Also, we have a Facebook page. It's not super active, but there is a DMB Fit Crew page as well. And then we're on Instagram.
DMB Fit Crew. Is it DMB Fit Crew? Let me guess.
And we have a little board of directors, myself and two other amazing friends. I cannot tell you how grateful I am for the people I have met in this group. And Jason and Kayla are phenomenal people. And so the three of us spend a lot of time together these days.
Yes.
And so they do help with some of the social media stuff, because maybe it's something I'm not great at, ironically.
Right. And it could become so much, right? Especially as your group grows, there's people that maybe reach out to ask you questions. And so at some point, obviously, like, we have outside lives outside of Dave Matthews Band. Like, we wish Dave Matthews Band was like our job, right? But like, it's not. So like, at some point you did need help, right? And so I'm so glad that you've got some people on that are really helping you to expand this group. And so tell us in closing, like, obviously this was something you could have never dreamed that would be inside your fan story of the Dave Matthews Band. So explain to the listeners, like, has this elevated your passion for the band? Like, has it changed your view of them? Or like, in general, how has this crew changed your life?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I am a business owner. I run two other businesses, and sometimes this shifts into my full-time gig. And I wouldn't have it any other way. It's just so much joy comes from this. I would say it has made my relationship with DMB so much more meaningful, because I feel like I'm riding this wave of energy that they're sending out. And I'm just like, I get to be part of that. I get to see that cycle through and come back. I've met some amazing people. I've got to spend time with band members. I've got to know some of the crew, and the generosity and just love that comes from these guys. I've been so impressed by so much that I've encountered. We've received gifts that we can auction off, and that sort of feedback loop just means so much. So it's really elevated sort of the experience I have with the music. And I tell you what, nothing has changed as far as my motivation goes. I'm still out there. When I'm out there running my miles, I'm like, okay, what soundtrack do I need? It's not always DMB,
right?
But I mean, I come back to it again and again, because now, because of the Fit Crew, it just is. It's it's my why. It's
Mhm.
what motivates me, and what makes me feel just happy stuff when I'm out there doing
Absolutely.
something hard.
Yes, yes, because it can be hard. And so, I mean, I think that begs the question, like when you're doing something intense, like whatever your heart is, like what is your go-to Dave Matthews Band song? Like what is the song that you can put in and just be like, all right, I am ready.
It's definitely Might Die Trying.
Okay, yeah.
There's a message in that song. When you give, you begin to live, and
Mhm.
you get the world. And you might die trying. So
I know. I was fixing to say like, and also you might die trying because like that's how you feel like when you're going
right,
for it, right?
I'm in this plank. I got a lot longer in this plank. I'm gonna die
Ooh,
trying.
Jesus help me because like I feel like I'm going to die, right? Like those muscles start burning and you're like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so like if you're doing something slow, like let's say
Mhm.
yoga where you're just trying to like chill and get out of your head, but also like stretch those muscles and feel better, like what's the song for that?
That would be Mercy, and
Mm.
that is something that Lyoko brought to our group. She led us through a breathwork session to that song, and it has again taken it to a whole new level. That song speaks to me about who I want to be, of what we
Mm-hmm.
need to do with our time here, and it does that in a very mellow, melodic way.
Wow, that's beautiful. And it's so funny because as I talk to more and more people about yoga and how it's changed their life, one of the things that they always say, and you said this too, was that it's not all about the workout, right? Like yoga has taught me to be kind to myself. What? Did I just say that? But like, yes, that's a big part of this is like remembering to be kind to yourself. And while that may seem so easy, usually, typically, we are on the back burner at all times, right? Like we're busy taking care of the children or the husband or the people at work or like all the things. And then we just like come home, go to bed, and like we start our next day. And so, like, what are we doing to invest in ourselves? And so I think, you know, you're offering such a great option for people that may be thinking that, like, okay, I'm tired. My body is aching at the end of the day. Like, I should not be feeling this way. Is this what it feels like to be 45, 55, 65? Like, how can I be that 80, 90-year-old who's walking around the mall? Like, how can I do that? Well, number one, you've got to schedule yourself into your calendar, right? Like, make yourself a priority. And like you said, that may sound selfish, but it is not. It's actually a necessary thing for everyone, right? It's like drink your water, do all the things, make time for yourself, right? So I think that's, you know, it sounds like a lot of people have found that through the Fit Crew, and I'm so glad that you are sharing that message. As a nurse, I preach that all the time, that, you know, wellness is not just physical. It really is spiritual. It's so many different components. And so mental health being, of course, a huge one of those. And so thank you for what you're doing. And not only, you know, helping others, but like on a whole different platform, you're like helping people. Like you've created this group, you've given some people's like resources of where to start in something that they already loved, but then going, okay, how can we do more? Charity. I mean, Jesus. I mean, like, thank you for doing what you're doing. I want 1,000 more stories just like yours. And so I'm so thankful that you came onto the show and that you're sharing this amazing story. I can't say thank you enough for what you're doing in this world.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So guys, if you are listening to this on a podcast app, just know that you can watch this on our YouTube channel, which is simply just the space between podcasts. And I know that Lisa is going to send me a couple of pictures. So if you do watch it on YouTube, you'll get to see pictures of the group at the Gorge and different pictures along her personal journey in finding the Dave Matthews Band. So Lisa, again, thank you so much for being on the show. Last thing, what would be one tip of advice for someone going into 2024? Do you have any advice for someone?
Oh, wow.
I know that was a big one, right? Like, okay, we're closing, but also like, quick, tell me how to change my life.
Gosh, I guess I guess my advice, and I'm a preschool teacher, so my mind goes right to those messages I send to them. And I think it's just to be authentically good for yourself.
Yes.
If you're authentically good, that means that you are showing up to be the best version of yourself.
Yes.
And that isn't perfect. That's not
No,
perfect.
no one is.
No, the members of the Fit Crew have gotten together and cheersed onion rings before, okay? So we are not perfect, but in that moment, oh my God, all the joy, right? So,
But also, like, onions are a vegetable. That would be like I'd be like, hey, I'm killing it. I ate some veggies.
if you love tacos, come to the Fit Crew.
Who
We are
doesn't,
all
right?
yeah.
Ooh. That sounds amazing.
Yep. Give it your all and make that real.
Yes, yes. Well, again, Lisa, thank you so much for sharing your story. Of course, your personal story about how you found this band that we all love, and that we are we're just so lucky to be almost in the band's 33rd year. We're almost there. I can't believe it. And again, I say this all the time, like, we're not promised tomorrow, guys. We are not promised a minute more of this band. Even if like Cancun's already scheduled, we don't know what's going to happen in life, right? We have no clue. So if you are looking for a way to kind of expand your fanship in 2024, definitely look into the DMB Fit Crew. Again, Lisa told us that you can find her on all the different socials. And so definitely think about that, guys. And if you have a journey with the Dave Matthews Band that you would like to share on this podcast, definitely reach out to me on any of the socials or kissonthelips.meyer@gmail.com. Lisa, again, thank you, guys. Every Friday we have a new person to tell their journey. So until then, peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much.